This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
So this is chapter 34, Taviren, and our symbol is the Sea Folk gulls, because this is a Sea Folk chapter.
Yep. This is them actually becoming kind of relevant, finally. A little bit.
A little bit, and then we ignore them for a long time.
Yeah.
I did want to follow up after the read-in on what the seal means. I've gotten an answer on that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that email. Cool. Awesome.
Why is it as soon as I start to read, I phlegm up? I swear to God.
Don't know, but it happens to me too.
You go to read, and all of a sudden you're like...
Right? Or like suddenly your sinuses are all like clicky.
And dry,
and it's like, my sinuses don't normally click when I talk, but when I'm reading, that's when...
All was ready as Rand had ordered in the courtyard at the front of the Sun Palace, or almost all. The morning sun slanted shadows from the steep towers, so only 10 paces in front of the tall bronze gates lay in full light. Deshiva and Flynn and Narishma, the 3 Ashaman he had retained, waited, besides their horses. Even Deshiva, resplendent with the silver sword and red and gold dragon on his black collar, though he still touched the sword at his hip, as if constantly surprised to find it there. 100 of Dobrain's armsmen sat their mounts behind Dobrain himself, with 2 long banners that hung down in the still air. Their dark armor newly lacquered so it glistened in the sun, and silk streamers of red and white and black tied below the heads of their lances. They raised a cheer when Rand appeared, his sword belt with its gilded dragon buckle strapped over a red coat heavy with gold. Althor! 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 Filled the courtyard. People crowding the archers' balconies joined in. Tyron and Cairhien sat in their silks and laces, who just a week before had no doubt cheered Colaver as loudly. Men and women who would as soon he had never returned to Cairhien, some of them waving their arms and giving voice. He raised the dragon scepter to acknowledge them, and they roared louder. So yeah, Rand in his resplendency after taking the city back from Colaver.
He's getting into the Emperor Rand aesthetic at this point, for
right.
sure. He's like, I have multiple nations bowing to me. I know how to trick out my horse.
I'm about to make the Sea Folk bow down to me, right? Like, and then I'm going to deal with the rebels, and then I'm going to take Ilion and become the king. I mean, he's the king of Ilion by the end of the book. So
he's definitely reaching Emperor Rand stage, while at the same time being incredibly insecure and having all of this unresolved trauma and just being a complete mess on the inside underneath the facade.
And the insane emperor is definitely a bit of a thing. Emperor Nero, whatever, all the Caesars.
Yeah, there's a lot of Roman emperors that were pretty fucking batshit. Nero being an excellent example.
Right. A little bit of lead in the paint, maybe?
Maybe, possibly.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe the lead seasoning they put in their wine. I don't know. Just wild speculation over here.
It's a good thing we didn't put it in our gasoline or anything for a long time.
Yeah, it's a really good call on not doing that ever.
Yeah, because then maybe people over, I don't know, say 60, 70 might have some real brain problems and probably shouldn't be running this country due to the massive amount of lead exposure they had at a young age.
So glad we didn't do that.
So glad we didn't do that. That would be real problematic.
Okay, moving on. I honestly don't remember exactly what it does. It makes you I don't remember. I used to know when I was actually into Roman history. Right around when I found What Spoilers, I was wrapping up the History of Rome podcast. And I was kind of like, I need more long form content. And then I found What Spoilers. But that was, I knew a lot of this stuff properly from that podcast.
So this is an email I got in December 2020.
8 months ago?
8 months ago? So, yeah, so shout out to Lance Barden for sending me this. In the last couple of episodes, 312 and 313, Seth has been wondering about the strange sigil on the letters Rand gets from the Sea Folk, 2 flattened bowls with an ornate line running through them. It seems to me that this symbol is meant to represent the 2-tiered parasol that is a symbol of a wave mistress's station. A 2-tiered parasol could be represented simply by 2 flattened bowls with an ornate line running from one through the other, and would be an easy way to show who the letter was coming from. P.S. Here's a link to the wiki page discussing Sea Folk and a screenshot of the relevant information. So, yeah, it seems to me that symbol that I was asking about is simply a stylized version of an umbrella.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And Brown Aja points to you. And sorry for the delay on getting that on air.
Well, we haven't encountered the sea folk again in quite some time. Rand has been staying away from them, so I've had that sitting in the inbox for like, okay, next time we talk about the sea folk, I'm definitely bringing this up.
50 episodes later. But we do get your mail, and we do care about it, and we will follow up at an appropriate time.
And even if I don't, I did read it, I promise. I just don't always get a chance to respond before my brain ejects my to-do list out the back and starts a new one.
Well, Brown Aja points to you also for remembering to do that.
That's I can't tell you how long that's been sitting in the inbox.
Well, actually, you can because there's a date on it. So that was my wet Aja moment for the day. We're good now.
that was he got me. That was pretty good. That was I actually already did tell you because I told you the date already, so you knew exactly how long it's been sitting in the inbox. Yeah, well done. Yeah, now I have to go be ashamed.
Not even off of the first page.
Right. Okay. So I just wanted to bring that back up and finally be like, yes, that symbol is from the Wave Mistress. So.
And that's very relevant here because we're going to meet Hareen, who becomes Wave Mistress eventually. She's not there yet, but.
Well, she's got to make a bad bargain first.
Yeah.
Of course, calling out to Shiva as
not being comfortable with the sword.
Forsaken.
Yeah.
Why is he surprised to find it there? Because he lived a whole nother life as a Forsaken where he didn't use a sword.
Mm-hmm.
So. We get a timeline where he talks about just a week before with Colivera being hanged, so we know how long it's been since he slept with Min and was in the depression, and again, a week is 10 days.
Yeah, well, Colivera took a couple of days to decide to hang herself, I think, between the day that Rand deposed her and the day she hung herself, because it was like, we're going to take a few days to like get her stuff organized and then take her out to the farm. But yeah, it's reminding us yet again that the timeline in the books is not matching a pace with the number of chapters that we have read.
Right, because basically a week before is the return. So a week before was when Colivera was being cheered. That was before he returned, which was the beginning of this book.
Yeah.
So
only
literally
a week.
Only a week. This whole book, chapter 34, 1 week. So yeah, that's the timeline has slowed down.
Big time.
Eye of the World is a week with Rand and Matt just on the road between innings. You like.
Yeah, the Great Hunt spans months of the girls' training in Tarvalon. Like,
we just wipe away 3 months in the flicker.
But still, it's like we cover most of the timeline of the books is in the first 3 books, and then the last 12 take place over like 6 months. But yeah, so yeah, we've got lots of noise, lots of pomp and circumstance, and then Five Eyes Sedai are trailing behind him, which is Alana, Phaedron, Marana, Raphella. And their names are kind of scattered. Oh, and Marana. Oh, I already said Marana. Yeah, whatever. There's Five Eyes Sedai. Most of them have relevance later in the plot, but not super much in this chapter.
This is another name salad chapter where we get a couple of characters who are named here and here only, and a lot of Aes Sedai who are up. The last book they're in is either Winter's Heart or Knife of Dreams, and they just don't appear in the last battle. And we just kind of assume that they're with the Aes Sedai, and we never really get a lot of detail about what happens to them. So this is definitely name salad sandwich right here.
Yes, a salad sandwich. That's what's happening. We do have Alana talking to Min.
Yes.
It's an awkward conversation that happens over there. You can tell exactly what they're talking about from the body language.
Right, because Min, when Rand asks, like, what were you talking about? Min's like, nothing, and blushes.
Right, and Rand's like, uh-huh.
Because Alana sensed exactly what happened.
Yeah, because Rand doesn't know how to mask the bond, and Alana's not going to choose to mask the bond because she might lose track of him. So, like, she just had to sit there and experience that.
Hey, all I can say is the knot of emotions in his skull said she was calmer and more relaxed than he ever remembered.
I noticed that too. A little sexual tension relief.
That kind of sounds like Alana is enjoying a little post-coital relaxation.
I mean, she's on the edge. Anything is going to help her calm down a little bit. But that was a huge release for Rand, so maybe...
Right. So maybe she's reflecting his emotion more than anything else?
That's what I think. Either that or she just decided to go full-on voyeur with that experience, which she's a green. I mean...
That's entirely possible.
Yeah. She's just like, get kind of one of her warders over here and help out with that. I don't know.
Yeah, this is we don't know, but she does appear much more relaxed than she's ever been. So I just
I don't know if she was participating, but I do think that
oh god,
that's not a great thought. But at the same time, she's a green who non-consensually bonded a man. I mean, what won't she do?
She's already violated him multiple times. Why not just participate non-consensually in his sex life?
Right. Or at the very least, just get the backwash of his release and post-colloidal cuddle times. Though he got all depressed and she doesn't seem depressed, so...
She did get depressed until Min fixed him.
That's true.
She was full of anxiety and for him and his craziness, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, that's true. So, yeah, the fact that she's like, okay, he's cool. I know why that happened. That's got to be a lot of just intellectual relief on top of all the other stuff.
So, yeah, I just imagine she's more reflecting Rand's mood at post Min knocking his silliness out of his head.
Yeah. No, that's super fair. That's super fair. Because she doesn't have a lot of boundaries, Alana, right now. Like, she's so raw and open that, like, she's going to be very swayed by Rand's mental state. So if Rand's in a better place, Alana going to benefit from that. So yeah, we've also got a bunch of maidens and Sayadun, I think. We've got male warriors and female warriors streaming along.
This is when Rand just has an entourage, and it's like, do we
A
really
circus.
like? I get that Jordan has to name them all, but and like it is effective in making him like imagine this huge crowd of people. But again, a lot of them are just in the room, and there's no need to necessarily bring them up or talk about them.
These are the ones who swore to Rand. These are the ones who are, oaths of fealty. They mean their oaths. They're actually bound by the oath rod to follow through with their oaths.
And they had that discussion and figured out that the oaths meant everything, that there wasn't any little loopholes or anything for them to get out
Exactly.
of. So that's why they're in Rand's hand.
And then we do get fun mention of two people who aren't there. Karuna and Varen. And then what Varen is currently doing and why she can't be found is because she is out there compelling the prisoner Aes Sedai who came from Elida's embassy. That's what she's currently doing because she's just out there in the tents questioning the prisoners. Yeah, she's also compelling them. That is happening currently, and that's what she's doing when we see her next. And then Karuna is, quote, consulting with Soralia on a matter of protocol. She's getting punished by Soralia.
She's definitely getting punished, yeah.
In some highly inventive Aiel way because she's not being a good apprentice.
She spilled some water or something, or isn't, yeah.
And as Soralia is still alive, it is still her day, and apprentices will jump when you say toad. So I love that euphemism. Consulting on a matter of protocol. And Rand's like, you know what? I'm not going to ask. I don't want to know what that means, but we can imagine. And it's not like it's cruel. I'm not laughing at cruelty. Like, the Aiel are cruel, but Soralia is genuinely trying to get the Aes Sedai to be good apprentices. So I have no doubt it's more about humiliation than about cruelty with this particular wise one.
But I didn't find really... Karuna doesn't seem to be very relevant after this point.
She shows up to, like, yell at the Taviran occasionally. I'm sure I feel like she does some effective battle stuff later, but yeah, I don't recall her being particularly, like, plot relevant. She just is a badass at some point in a scene when there's tons of badasses wall to wall. I didn't look her up, but yeah, her name is just like, oh yeah, she does some badass Aes Sedai blowy uppy stuff at some point. Barrett and Karuna are a pair. Oh, they're the ones that went to the waste from Saladar.
Right. And so them showing up is sort of like, that triggers a bunch of stuff. But at this point...
Right, because they basically take over the other group. And then this actually scene is when Rand is like, oh, by the way, I'm appointing Marana to speak for you. Mm-hmm. Totally undoing the ripples that Barrett and Karuna brought to that group and, like, kind of setting the boat aright. And I think that's got to be Taviran, that he picks the person. Well, maybe not Taviran, but it's a really good call on his part to be like, no, this power sharing confusion that has been making you all snippy little bitches to each other, stop. Marana's in charge, deal with it. And as we just saw with Elaine in Abu Dar, when someone is set above other Aes Sedai, they will fall into line. The problem is that there was debate about who was in charge, and Rand ends that debate.
And it was also with Karuna was one of the ones who was like, no, we're taking over, and she's not in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not there to, like, protest or argue her own way. So Bear's in the room, though, right?
Yes, Barra is there. Barra and the others made small curtsies. But I think she kind of defers to Karuna a little bit more than the other way around.
Ooh, and he's taking Karuna's horse, too. Giving it to Min. Yeah, she's like getting beaten with Soralia. She's learning protocol from Soralia. She got her horse taken away and her power taken away. She's not walking into a good situation when she comes in. She's going to have a huge disappointment.
layers of disappointment. Like, you have taken way too much upon yourself, and you are now being set back in your proper place. Thank you.
So we have him basically in a procession. He tries to put the women behind him because of the crossbow bolt. Remember that happened in Cairhien, I believe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. And I think it happens at least one more time in future chapters. Like, it's a very reasonable concern for him to have.
Right.
But yeah, it lasts for like 3 seconds, and then they're all back up on him. The procession is, the crowd is roaring in something that could as easily be rage as approbation, which is just, like, that's scary. Like, that's a scary position to be in. Like, you have all these people around you, yes, but, like, the mob, do they like you or hate you? That's not comfortable.
Except you have the power to kill them all.
Which is going to do more damage to your soul and make it harder to take over other kingdoms. It's a rough spot. He's between a rock and a hard place this whole chapter.
But they do. I mean, I don't get the indication that they're not for him. They're for pretty much whoever's in charge, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But he can't tell that. He's not sure. And it's like, yeah, they're on your side, but also, like, it's because you're the big guy in town, right? These people are not convinced of your dragonhoodness. They're convinced of your ability to kill them all. It's a different kind of respect.
Maybe I shouldn't prevent the Aes Sedai from channeling without permission as we walk through this mob of people. And, like, because again, if someone sees a crossbow boltman, they'll have to be like, look out, can I channel to stop them?
Can I channel to heal you if you're knocked out? Like, yeah, no. And I mean, we see that with the Black Aja hunters. Like, oaths can conflict in some really stupid ways because they're magical oaths, not oaths of conscience.
Yeah, when you can't abide by the spirit of the law, you have to obey the letter of the law to the point of death.
It's a dangerous,
That's a problem.
dangerous
That's
space.
a very dangerous thing. Yeah, that's why I think the 3 oaths are worded so carefully.
And there's still problems despite that wording. Being careful. And then Rand does one of those, like, staring grimly into space and then laughing suddenly out of nowhere situations, which is always a good sign.
Like insane people do.
He's like, the world is a laughing matter. And it's like, are you okay? Do you need a stuffy?
Min's laughing with him, so I have to wonder if maybe he's just not kind of breaking the tension of the moment.
Well, he laughs at the thought of the conflicting oaths, and Min's just like, let me comfort you with more laughter. It's fine. Your laugh. It's like, I mean, I do that when people are upset and then they get happy. I'm like, yes, I'm on board with the happy train. Let's go. Because it's not funny that he might die because the oaths of the people that he has to force into obedience to obey him, like, might not be able to save him because of their oaths. Like, that's not actually fun. It's like ironic funny, not haha funny.
So they board this boat piloted by Elver Shiane. Again, this is his singular appearance in the whole thing. But he's not the first. Wasn't this, like, the sea serpent captain who hated Aes Sedai?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, like, this, yeah, and this guy reminds me a lot of him with that just, like, slimy hating of Aes Sedai and just, like, covering it up because he has to deal with them.
Yeah, this guy's less slimy, if only because we get to see less of him. He's just
Right.
like, I've
They're not
agreed
stuck
to
on the
do
boat with
this
him.
because I don't have a choice and I hate everything. So that's not slimy necessarily, but I mean, he could be slimy. We just don't know.
Again, I'm like, Jordan, do you really need to give us a name of another ship captain that hates Aes Sedai and that's all we know about them?
I mean, does he hate Aes Sedai or does he just hate everything about the situation?
I mean, plainly, the man would rather have had a ship brimful of live vipers compared to Aes Sedai. So
Yeah, you're right. And then he puts it together about the Ashaman and is like, I wish my boat was on fire right now. That would be better.
And he's like mopping he thought his handkerchief might yet rub away what thin gray fringe of hair he had left. Just constantly like, oh my god, what am I getting into? Like, yeah.
It's a rough day when you happen to be the next boat in line and the Dragon Reborn comes down to the docks. It's like, fuck.
I imagine just like when you're in Uber and you're Ubering around and you get like Hitler in your backseat and you're like, that's not good.
Yeah, this is awkward.
This is awkward. Don't you like kill a lot of people and stuff?
Yes, and I will kill you if you don't take me to where I want to go.
Right away, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but the way people view the Dragon Reborn is on a similar level with, the worst genocidal maniacs we've ever had. Because on a lot of level, that's what LTT was. He was he caused generations, 3,000 years of death, destruction, and pain. How many millions of people died in the breaking? How many billions of people died in the breaking?
Right, and how many people have been destroyed by the taint on the power in the generations since? Like, and then Rand himself has caused wars, has engaged in outright warfare, has been at the center of horrific conflict. He's got a bunch of...
The invading of the Aiel. Yep.
Yeah, he brought the Aiel over. He's got Aes Sedai and Ashman. Ashman he created, by the way. Like, there's a lot of reasons to be anxious about having Rand alone, much less Rand in procession.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, the people he has with him are some of the people of nightmares, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Aiel, the male channelers,
And the female channelers.
The Forsaken. The female channelers they were already kind of a...
Yeah, it's like...
The Forsaken, which you don't know about.
Right, yeah. But, like, it's like if a Greek god suddenly waltzed onto your boat and they had, like, you know, Cerberus with them, you know? Just like, oh, yeah, not only am I Hades, I have my three-headed hell dog with me. Like, just take us across. It's fine.
We then get the prophecy of the dragon is the next thing I have. The north shall he tie to the east, and the west shall be bound to the south, it said.
It's interesting that he before was like, I'm going to leave the sea folk out of it. And now he's like, but I can't. Turns out that this prophecy actually has meant that was a ridiculous goal to have.
Well, but this prophecy isn't even about the sea folk, right? Like,
right?
It has no relevance. I do like the north shall he tie to the east, and we do know that he gets the borderlands, and then, like, the east is Andor and Cairhien, and basically everything east of the two rivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the sea folk, the west shall be bound to the south. It doesn't say he's going to do it. It just says it shall be done, which we know is the Shan-Chan. And there is another line to that. It's like, and the two shall be one or something like that.
Something to that effect.
Yeah. So we're not getting the whole prophecy here.
Yeah, but this is, I think, really a case of Rand is looking to the prophecy to justify what he wants to do. He's not approaching this like Herod fell and just objectively trying to put the things together. He's like, I feel uncomfortable with this decision, so I am going to find a way to make it make sense. Which is, in fairness, how prophecies generally work.
But I like how he says the prophecy said he would bind people together of every land. Yeah, the sea folk aren't of every land.
There's a distinct lack of land.
Not sure how you're using this prophecy to justify that one.
It's metaphorical. It's an allegory. Also, let's interpret it literally. This is like mixing Greek and Latin prefixes in a name. It's just stop.
Listen, I'm using octopi no matter what. I don't care. Octopi is right. I'm not using octopuses. It's terrible. I know it's correct because it's Greek, and the correct Greek finish is octopus but it's octopi because it's easier to say.
I mean, honestly,
and we speak English. We're already a mishmash of languages. I don't mind mashing two more up.
Yeah, we speak English. We make up our own rules.
Like, I'll have my own language. Hookers and blackjack.
The thing with polyamory is a totally messed up term because you're actually putting Greek and Latin together into one thing, and it should be one or the other, and it's just like,
right.
There's a whole like hilarious long form meme of like, this is my problem with polyamory. It's mixing Greek and Latin is wrong. And it's like, okay, fair. This is a legitimate thing to be annoyed about. Okay.
But I feel like in the nature of the word, it's like the language is polyamorous, right? Like the word itself is polyamorous. It fucks multiple religions, right? Or multiple languages.
Yeah. No, that's, yeah. I am such a mutt of the manifest destiny of the United States. I have no room to stand on when it talks about rules. I just, nope. Okay, so Min says, so Rand has a thought, can I trust them? And Min happens to have a vision that says, yes, you can trust them because Ta'Veren is ramping up to 11.
I just saw these 5 in your hand. I was curious, when he gives out the orders to the Ashman and Flynn and Narishma grin, what are those orders? I wasn't able to figure out like anything fun that they did later. They just sort of loomed for a while until he took off.
He probably told them to loom with impunity and like to feel free to break a few bones if necessary if things went sideways. Yeah, just fluff up and be big and growl. Use your animal intimidation tactics. And then they do this really, really cool thing, visually speaking, with the walking over the invisible bridge. He just walks on. It's like walking on water for Jesus, but he just like walks on air over the water. So visually awesome.
It's a very Jesus-y moment.
And Min just like waltzes alongside him like, I trust you. I will literally walk off a cliff with you. Her devotion to him is, in case you were wondering how devoted she is to him, this devoted.
She just walked off a cliff, yeah. And he caught her. Which, I mean, fair enough. I would too at that point. With the kind of power he's got, I'd trust him and be like, yeah, I believe you. If you're going to step off, I'm going to step off, right? Like, now he's like, that's as far as I go.
Like, literally the farthest we can go.
I wonder if he like deliberately made them pull the boat that close.
I would think so.
Otherwise, like, how is it just that exact amount? It's like when he made his first courtyard to try and transport a lot of people when
Oh,
he was
yeah.
skimming, and he made it exactly the right size that he could make it, and any bigger he would sink through it, and then he's
Yeah.
like,
In that one, he
it's like
wasn't sure because he made it the exact replica of the courtyard. And then he was like, did I set the limits? Or is that the limit? And there's that great quote from LTT, like, we set our limits out farther than we have any right to. But yeah, in this case, I think he's learned from that, and he's got a bit of a flair for the dramatic.
But yeah, even the Forsaken did not know why, any more than they knew why a woman could make a longer bridge than a man, even if she was not as strong. It was not a matter of weight. Any amount of weight could cross any bridge. Which is a good trivia thing, because that's
What's
like...
the weight limit of
how
a
much
bridge?
what's the weight limit of an air bridge? And it's like, there is no weight limit, there's merely a length limit.
I wonder if that's a hint about how White Bridge was created. The fact that it's like definitely a super power wrought thing. Like, you can take anything across it. It follows the rules of the power.
That's a good point, yeah. Yeah, maybe it has like a tied off air bridge like on top of it.
Right, and they like just put like some magically reinforced stone over that like standing flow, for lack of a better word.
Something. Yeah, right.
It's so interesting how like, yeah, you can lift yourself to a certain extent, but not too much. Like, I hate that you can't make yourself fly with the power. I literally hate it so much, but I appreciate that he has rules for it. Like, you can do so many other things. Why can't you fly? I don't want to be part of this world after all.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like... I feel like if you had a mastery of physics, you couldn't very easily... That's what show wings are, right? Is like...
Right.
Flying with magic. Just not...
You just have to make a weave that gives you the appropriate lift and aerodynamics. Like, you
Right.
don't have to lift yourself. You have to create air around you such that you fly.
Right.
Because yeah, like you said, show wings, magically powered. Clearly they were taking advantage of physics and aerodynamics. Lift, wings. So yeah, there's no reason you couldn't just like have a little personal jetpack of magic, basically.
Right. It seems like you should be able to like have one of those wings that you can like body wing, a wingsuit.
Oh my god.
And like fly with one of those, right? Like,
totally. Absolutely. Yes. Wingsuit. I love those videos of the GoPros on the wingsuit people, and I'm just like, oh man, I need VR to be better.
Right.
Get a fan going in your face, and yeah.
A fan controlled by the VR, so that when you accelerate, it gets faster.
Because I am 110% never going to do that physically with my body, but I would shell out some good money for a realistic VR ride along. I mean, I would go skydiving again, but skydiving is not the same thing as wingsuiting. It's a whole other level of taking your life into your own hands with wingsuiting. Do highly recommend skydiving, though. That's really fun.
So we've got Cairhien, Shalon, Taval. Those are all the Windfinders.
So Hareen is the wave mistress, and then Shalon is her sister, who is the windfinder. And the other two are just for the boat, and they don't come up again ever. Whereas Hareen and Shalon, we see a lot of later on. They are with Cadswain's retinue, basically.
And the next thing, the next little bit is essentially like Rand asserting that I can do what I want, and everyone else being like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. Like,
Right.
this is a tough thing to get around, because it's really just, he gets so irritated from being back in his little box, right?
Yeah, no, they start out thinking they're on the wrong foot. Like, they approach the bargain as like, oops, we accidentally gave him a title. That means he's going to take advantage. And he's like, I am a pigeon shitting all over this chessboard. I do not play by your rules. I do not give a flying fuck. And they're trying to like maneuver and like be worried that they called him a title that he hadn't earned yet and all this. And he's just like, no, I am way too stressed.
He's cutting right across this like Days Damar, right? He's just like, I'm not playing your game. I'm going to use Taviran to just cut you off and make you admit things that you don't want to admit.
And the Aes Sedai help, both deliberately and not deliberately. Like, Marana's like, oh, like, they're off balance. Like, you should definitely take some of us with you because there are channelers here. So, like, she helps. And then he's like, come here and obey. And they do the whole, like, kissing the dragons on his hands. And that's just, like, total Taviran, like, staging.
I guess I have to just wonder, why is this so easy for him? Like, why does he get to just be like, nope, you're doing it my way this time? And why does it work? Why are the Sea Folk so just, like, susceptible to the Taviran when nobody else really... Like, he's tried this so many times before to just assert himself. And here the Sea Folk are just like, oh, yep, okay.
I think, well, I think to a certain extent is RJ wanting to have the Sea Folk plot move faster than some of the other plots. I think that's some of it. And I've always read this as being a very odd surge in Rand's Taviran-ness. Like, it gets really intense, and it doesn't normally work this strongly. It runs through his encounter with the rebels.
And getting slashed by the dagger.
It's some sort of like the stars are aligned, his emotions are running so high and raw. Like the Taviran comes through more strongly, and it just so happens that the Sea Folk is who he's interacting with. That's how I've always interpreted it, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that he's so traumatized. He is going to do what he's not thinking about it at all. He's working from a place of desperation.
So it's like when Matt stops thinking about it and just lets his luck happen by being random.
Yeah.
Here's Rand just being Taviran and not trying to make things happen. He's just showing up and being like, I want this. Make it happen.
And yeah, I mean, you think about it too with Perrin. Perrin fights the effects of his Taviran bringing the armies together until Fail gets kidnapped. And then he's like, oh, you want to follow me? Okay, fine. I need my wife back. I'm not going to fight my leadership if it gets me my wife back. Like, so I think that it's, Rand just has no patience, no brain cells, no emotional capacity at all to do anything other than flex his Taviran. And he doesn't know that's what he's doing, but that's what he's doing.
But you're kind of embracing the Taviran and letting it, like, flow through him.
Yeah. And just being like, if I say what I want and sit back and let it play out, does that work? It did. Cool. Moving on. Yeah, I think Taviran is a fickle thing, and it's a thought, no thought kind of space.
I also think it's a balance thing. This went really well. The rebel thing doesn't.
He gets Caroline and what's his face on his side, but overall it goes badly.
The whole stabbing in the side. Oh, I mean, of course, the stabbing in the side does sort of lead to the cleansing, so you could say it was necessary on that level.
It's a braid, you know, it bounces on one side and then another, and it leads and it leads and it leads. But yeah, I think his trauma means that he's not able to he's not able to overthink things, and the pattern responds. Because he gets down into this space, and he's too tall and too big for the space to be comfortable even for a normal person, and then he's got all that box trauma and is just like being triggered as every second goes by slower and slower for him.
I always see the like basketball players ducking through doorways and stuff like that, and this is sort of what I imagine with Rand, where he's just in a space that's really not designed to have someone his height in it, and like he really, and that combined with the trauma of like literally a week ago getting out of a box where he was held, like this is not distant trauma that he's dealt with and had time to. This is a week ago he was being held against his will in a tiny little box. So, like, the fact that he even descended into the ship is pretty remarkable.
And immediately the walls start closing in, like literally closing in on him. It's amazing that Min is like, Min doesn't ask, like, are you okay with this? Because, like, she knows what he went through. But it's very important to deal with the Sea Folk. And she undoubtedly was hearing a lot about that during the week that he was sulking. The week that he was brooding in his room. She was probably hearing a lot about the Sea Folk and how important that was. But yeah, he's like, the walls are literally closing in. He's flexing his Taviran. And the Sea Folk are being blown over by this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, and especially Cairhien.
Yeah.
Who's, like, she's the one who's in charge and her word is binding. And then we get the Min prophecy. You will be punished for what happens here today, Cairhien, but not so much as you fear, I think. At least one day you will be mistress of the ships. Which
is very important in Cairhien's arc.
Very important. Like, at that point, she's, like, everything going forward, she knows. Because of what happens here, where the Aes Sedai do someone who can't lie says that everything that Min says comes true. So she has faith that she will be mistress of the ships.
And she has to go through some shit with only that faith to sustain her.
Yeah, she does.
She gets, tied up and beaten by her colleagues. She has to deal with Cadsuane for weeks on end. Like, be hundreds of miles away from the sea with only her sister for company. Like, it's...
Hey, at least she doesn't lead a charge into an opposing army because she knows she'll be fine because my babies.
It's true. It is true. She does not do that. She fucking sits with the bowl of the winds and operates it like a fucking badass.
But you can think that, like, with that prophecy, she does have some real protection from death.
Yeah.
Like until she's the mistress of the ships, it's gonna be tough. Unless it's like post-mortem, that would be one way to do it.
You're gonna elect a dead person
in honor of in honor of her sacrifice. We will make her mistress, name her post-mortem mistress of the ships.
Yeah.
So that could be one way.
It's good that she doesn't take it to the extreme that Elaine does. But yeah, she's over there just like words are coming out of her mouth before she can think about them. This is the kind of thing that Rand hoped would happen with Tuon later. And he's like, I've sat down and said my piece and gotten the result before. And then Tuon is so strong in herself that it doesn't work on her. Same with Egwene.
Yeah, I was going to took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, Egwene was also, everyone else in the White Tower was like, oh my God, how did you deal with that? That's also when he had truly mastered Tiberius after coming down off the White Tower, when the Dark One had nearly come into the world and his powers were amplified the stronger the Dark One got.
Yeah, and technically he approaches Tuon after that also. They both have, but still, it's he's looking at this situation and attempting to replicate it later, and it doesn't work because he's going up against much more strongly established characters. I'm not going to say Hareen is a weak person, but she's a much less strongly established character. So
also because he's deliberately trying to do it as opposed to letting it happen.
Mm-hmm.
The pattern doesn't like it when you pull on it.
No, the pattern is very much more of a Saidar than a Saidin when it comes to making things happen. But yeah, Hareen is like, what I say binds the entire sea folk, and I'm going to be in trouble if I don't do it right. And then they're like, aha, that means you're going to do it. Aha, aha, aha.
Yeah. And she's like, no, damn it.
Yeah.
And then Rand lists what he wants. I want ships to carry men or supplies. I want to know what's happening in Terabon and Eredoman and the lands in between. Your ships can travel farther out to sea than anyone else's. The sea folk will keep watch as far west in the Aerith Ocean as they can sail. There's a people, the Shan-Chan, who live beyond the Aerith Ocean, and one day they will try and conquer us. The sea folk will let me know when they come. It's like they're here.
Yeah, they're like, so cool news is that we've already done that, and we can tell you that they are coming.
That whole west and the south thing will be as one? Yeah, they're pretty much on halfway there.
Because Rand figured that he dealt with them for a generation, and it's like for like 6 months. You push them back for like 6 months. We have covered them hitting into Amadisia. So
they've done Amadisia. They've done Terabon. Like they've taken over most of the West Coast. The fact that Rand they've taken over so much of the continent, and Rand doesn't even know that they're there.
Yeah.
Like, needs to check on some of this stuff. He needed the Sea Folk much earlier because they really have, conquered the West and the South already.
Yeah, well, he has been distracted and assuming that it wasn't a thing he needed to check on. And it's one of those you don't know what you don't know kind of things.
And we know by the end of the book, this is the Bowl of the Winds book, so they take over Abu Dar by the end of the book. Mm-hmm. So they are
they land
days away from doing that, yeah. If it's not happening, right now.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it does. I would think that the attack on Amadisia would be happening from a stable land base. That's Terabon, which is not Abu Dar.
And they attack Abu Dar from
sea.
Sea.
Yeah, they land. But yeah, it's Rand didn't think he needed to look for that and was ignoring the sea folk. So that's 2 reasons why he's completely clueless. And this is why you should do research for the sake of research and not because you think you know what's going to happen.
While holding a Shan-Chan spear to remind him not to forget about it, right? It's like, what's this red thing? What's this red string on my finger? I wonder. I must have forgotten something. Oh well.
Yeah, it's a little ironic.
I'll worry about that tomorrow. But what he didn't know is he thought that the Forerunners was the entire invasion, and that they got pushed off, and they would have to go back, regroup, and then come back. And yes, if they had to do that, it would have probably been a generation before they came back. Right?
They planned better than that.
What he didn't realize is there was a second wave coming that was much bigger, which is the return.
Yeah, he grossly underestimates the Shan-Chan's level of commitment to this invasion. Like, you just thought they did that on a whim? No, they spent 70 years building ships and training an army. This was an intergenerational effort. They are not going to be pushed back by one big epic cosmic battle in the sky.
And they've got reinforcements coming, right? I think we figured out that exactly a year after the Forerunners, the return arrived, and there's no way to get word back that fast. So they must have left on a predetermined schedule.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It probably took months just to load and send the ships out, and then bring the next bank of ships in and load it and send it out. I mean, it's totally waves upon waves. No, Rand grossly underestimated what the Shan-Chan's actual plan was because he didn't bother to talk to them. He just blew them up.
And the Sea Folk reference that. Some dark evil has descended upon the Aerith Ocean. No ship of ours has come from there in many months. Ship that sail west vanish. So they're just encountering the forward wave of...
Well, and
last
Suroth
couple of
took her
months.
people and retreated just far enough west to get to some islands. So between that and the onrushing actual return, like, yeah.
They're just they don't want anyone to know that they're hiding out on those islands. So any ships that come to those islands get destroyed.
And then Rand decides that the cabin is literally the box and he's going to bust out of it. He rips the arm off of the chair because he's so frantic to get out, and his tunnel vision is down to nothing.
But I love his phrase. You're Grey Ajah, he told her harshly. Negotiate.
Which, fair.
And it's like, thank you. Would somebody fucking finally say it? Like, what they get out of the Sea Folk after all of these admissions is so pathetic. Like, they suck as Grey Ajah. They should have... It's like playing chess and coming out with a tie when you had, like, a queen and a rook up on somebody.
Yeah, it's incredible. But yeah, Mirana's like, wait, stay and help. We need your help, Taviran. And it's like, you're how many centuries older than me? And you've told me that you have everything under control how many times? Like, you're Grey Ajah. Negotiate. Duh. And then, yeah, really the only thing in his mind is to get up topside and to have open sky around him and to be able to breathe in an unconfined space. And that's really all that he's focusing on. And I think that's why he goes so manic and decides to take down the rebels in the same day.
Mm-hmm.
I think he needs to get out of everything.
Response to trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not thinking. He's not thinking at all. He is operating entirely from his trauma, and it's rough. I mean, when I first read this part of the series, it was like, oh, Rand's getting insane. And I have so much more empathy now for, like, there's insanity and there's trauma. These are not synonymous things that he's operating from, and this is much more trauma than taint madness.
They feed back into each other, because going insane is a form of trauma. It's a form... think of it as like Alzheimer's, right? You know you're losing your mind. That is a form of trauma. Like, it's not a physical trauma. I mean, well, they've done brain scans, it is.
But the emotions are not a physical trauma. That's emotional trauma.
Right, and so he's suffering from literally loss of his mind.
And loss of his autonomy. And those things are not the same, but they're wound together. And so he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to break more boxes. That'll make me feel better.
So yeah, and I notice he's in such a state that he literally leaves Min behind underground. Like, that's...
He's not looking out for her. Like, he is in a bad place if he is not thinking about her over himself. Because he always prioritizes his lady love. He prioritizes any random woman. That he just ran out of there without thinking about the women he was leaving behind at all. He is not a happy boy.
And then he is like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take care of the rebels.
And it's like, what? What is that decision? Where did that come from?
So here's what I imagine. You know, if you get depressed and you have this, like, long to-do list, and you know, like, everything is only going to take 5 minutes, but you've been putting it off for a month and a half, so you haven't done any of those things? I imagine that's sort of how he's treating this, is like, oh yeah, okay, sea folk, rebels, right? What are the little things that I've been putting off that I'm just going to take care of really quick and just knock those out, you know? 5 minutes in and out, no problem, right? Like,
yeah, and it's like, actually, that's a 4-hour art project, but sure, let's treat it like a quick
sure,
little,
exactly. Yeah, and so that's like, instead of giving these the proper attention after a week of being depressed and like letting things pile up, he's like, okay, let's go. I gotta take care of all this stuff right away. Let's go. And that leads to disaster when you rush your projects and don't spend the right amount of time on things and try and make it happen faster than it's supposed to.
Yeah, I have a lot of empathy for Rand, even though I've never been, the prisoner of an evil army that was committing war crimes on me. I have a lot of empathy for his decision-making process.
Rand nodded. The sea folk were his, or as good as. What matter whether the Horn of Lear was in the White Tower? He was Taviran. He was the Dragon Reborn and the Coromor. The golden sun still burned well short of its noon peak. The day is young yet, Min. He could do anything. Would you like to see me settle the rebels? 1,000 crowns to a kiss. They're mine before sunset.
I mean, now he's gambling. He's in a bad place. And he's laughing when he shouldn't be laughing. It's just, Rand, honey.
What that does lead into is one of my favorite little scenes of him going into the forest and his whole interaction with the rebels is delicious all the way up until Fane. We get an encounter with Fane. We get Codswain in all of her glory. We get Mashadar. Like, there's so many things about the next chapter that are like some of my favorite
Was
stuff
that literally the next chapter?
about this
We're
book.
not jumping. Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, yes. So yeah, no, I agree. It's one of the most action-packed and twisty parts of the plot, and I think that really reflects Rand's state of mind.
And I would say it's the next couple of chapters, because it's that one, and then they go in, and then they fight.
And then there's the duel, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's a few chapters that covers. But yeah, there's a lot of characters that actually matter in that whole sequence, and their interactions really matter. And Rand makes some wild decisions and ends up with, the second wound, which has huge implications for his physical health, has huge implications for the cleansing. I mean, the cleansing is partially inspired by that wound, and the double wound just it drags him down the whole rest of the series.
And you might say it's what kills him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, this is literally what kills Rand.
Yeah, and we are on book 7, and he takes his fatal wound and just manages to limp along a little bit longer for the rest of the series. Yeah, no, things are going downhill fast for him, and you get a sense of onrushing disaster starting at this chapter and into the next few.
And it also makes sense. We think of him having that wound for a very long time, but again, time is so compressed. It's half the series, but it's only
a month.
God, how long? Do we know how long is it until the last battle
Somebody
starts?
has made a chart. I do not have it memorized. There is definitely a timeline of events that people have made. I trust the fandom, and I'm pretty sure I've looked at it before. But even if I hadn't, I trust that the fandom has made that, because I know how crazy we all are.
This book from now on takes place in 1000. Like, we're in 1000 right now. Right, that year's happened.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm looking for like a complete timeline to really address this. Crown of Swords is Midwinter 1000. Path of Daggers, Winter's Heart, and Crossroads of Twilight are all late winter. So we're early winter to late winter. That's 2 months. For the next 3, these 4 books are all take place in the winter, right?
Yeah.
So 3 months for 4 books. Knife of Dreams is spring, and then Gathering Storm, Towers of Midnight are late spring to early summer.
So the world gets reborn at midsummer, basically, and we're at early.
So we're
winter.
in winter.
So we have
early summer. Memory of Light is early summer, but again, that takes place over like the time gets all wonky in Memory of Light because the last battle is weird. Because some places it's months, other places it's weeks, some places, and with where Rand is, it's a day.
Yeah.
But yeah, the late spring, early summer.
And we're in early winter right now.
We're in early winter. We're in midwinter now. Yeah, should be a nice hard winter right now.
Right. Which is why Winter's Heart is such a rough transition, because they take it from midsummer to midwinter. Like, bam! Okay, yeah, so we have months left in the in-world timeline?
Midwinter to early summer, that's less than 6 months.
6 months on the outside.
I mean, 6 months and basically 6 books. So, for all intents and purposes, it's a month per book. But, like, really, the next 3 books are compressed within, like, a couple weeks. And then there's, like, Knife of Dreams has a bit more expansive timeline, right? Time happens during Knife of Dreams, unlike the rest of the books. So we go from early spring to late spring over the course of Knife of Dreams. So we have, like, a whole season over Knife of Dreams.
And then A Memory of Light is, like, as little as a
and
day, depending on which timeline you're following.
Right. And Gathering Storm through Memory of Light is like...
And the timelines get out of sync in that one, too.
Yeah, they get way out of sync,
Did this event happen months ago? What? Like, yeah. Like the Bale scream, that particular piece of the timeline is like...
But yeah, so Rand survives at most 6 months, probably closer to like 4 months with the wound in his side.
That he's about to get because he's having the manic phase of a trauma flare.
Right.
Yeah.
But that just tells you how deadly that is, right? Like it's cancer, right? It's
Yeah, it's aggressive, fast-acting, instantly metastasized cancer. Yeah, well, I mean, Shadar Logoth was a bad scene. Everything to do with Shadar Logoth was really toxic and terrible. So when he gets stabbed in an already vulnerable spot with a needle of that, it's not surprising that it has such a profound effect on the rest of his life.
Can I just say one of the saddest things is that he thinks that maybe the cleansing is going to help with the wound, and it doesn't affect it at all.
Right?
It's like, oh.
He had such high hopes. He's like, maybe this will make me feel better. Nope. He made the world better. That's good. Saturday because JordanCon fucked with the schedule.
JordanCon fucked my schedule, and I did not, because it was announced so late and I didn't know when it was going to happen, I scheduled a bunch of guests to be on the podcast long before it was announced the date of JordanCon or whether it was even going to happen. So it's been a bit of a hectic couple of weeks in terms of scheduling. And, for example, we have not recorded Chapter 31 yet, even though today we are recording Chapter 34.
Yeah, 31's going to be recorded out of order, but it's okay. It's a timeless love. It doesn't need to be in order. We're here on a Saturday trying to catch up the nonsense that has occurred, and then next week we do 31 out of order, and then I think after that we're good.
Well, we're doing another Saturday recording with Brett.
Oh, right.
Just because his schedule worked that, because we had to reschedule 31, that overlapped with when we wanted to record with Brett.
Yeah, and you'll be doing that one on your own because I have out-of-town family that weekend.
Right.
But then after that, after next weekend, we will be back on the orderly straight and narrow until, the trailer drops and we all lose our collective shit. There was a lot of us that wished we could have gone and didn't for one reason or another and missed. I didn't even participate in distance con. I was just like, I'm gonna not internet for a few days.
Yeah, I think I tried to call you once late at night and you were in. Yeah. Yeah,
I got the message 45 minutes later as I was going to bed and checking my phone one last time. I'm like, nope.
Nope. So I was like, do you want to hang out with people? And I was like, she's either not going to respond to this or say no, or she's going to get to me. Yeah.
Genuinely didn't see it until 45 minutes after you sent it. Because I was, I don't know, watching Netflix with Brandon or something like that. Lesser Portland.
Oh my God. So I was traveling to the airport and I gave the lady my ticket and she was like, oh, so you're going to Portland, Maine? And I was like, no. She said, thank you for paying attention.
That's
I was
hilarious.
Like, you got me. So I had a moment, she gave me a half-second heart attack where I was like, no, that's not where I booked my flight. I have to go home.
That's funny. People in chat, are you the person that I interacted with? I don't remember.
Well, I believe Portland, Maine is a beautiful city. I just don't live there.
It's in Maine, so that's 50 points against right there. But I'm not surprised that it's a nice city because I hear about it a lot.
Mostly when people go, which Portland?
Such an inventive name. It's a place with a lot of ports. Really, that's the qualifying feature because that's not on a nation with 3 coasts.
It's more, that's why we call it Stumptown or Bridgetown,
right.
Or it gets a bunch of nicknames because Portland is kind of a boring name. But
yeah,
we have a ton of bridges because we have 2 rivers that run through.
And a lot of them are very pretty.
Yeah, they really are.
The St. John's Bridge is just so photogenic, it hurts.
Yeah. The Burnside Bridge, too, even though it doesn't have quite the majestic sweep of it, really looks nice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I definitely live between 2 rivers and don't think I haven't noticed.
I mean, that's the little Portland group in the chat is 2 rivers.
Is the 2 rivers.
2 rivers,
yeah.
Woolheads is the roll, and yeah, the Willamette and the Columbia. Though ironically, Portland is pretty far down from the confluence, Portland proper. Downtown is not at the confluence.
No. But Northeast definitely is.
Sure, yeah.
I was like, I go to the beach, the beach on the confluence where the 2 meet is a great little swimming hole.
Yeah. I have friends who've gone up there, but I had family up in Northeast, but we only ever walked to the dog park.
Timber loves that little beach there. He goes swimming in the because it's just Kelly Point Beach, I think is what it's called. And we go up there all the time.
Nice. Yeah, I have a friend who posts pictures of a beach up in Portland all the time. But...
Well, there's 2 rivers, so there's quite a bit of beach land actually.
Yeah, a lot of sand.
Yeah, a lot of sand. And it's good sand. It's not ocean sand, but it's also not East Coast shit sand.
Right, yeah, that's degrading Cascade volcano sand. That's some high quality quartz and silica for sure.
Thank you for the geology knowledge drop. I appreciate that. Speaking of knowledge drop, we learned since the last recording that the show is coming out in November. And we've just been extremely excited about that.
Much squee.
And we should have the trailer by the end of the summer, so putting dates on that should be trailer by September 22nd at the latest, which means it will be out by SpoilerCon, so we'll be able to talk about it at SpoilerCon. Yeah,
that will be probably all we talk about at SpoilerCon.
Do we want to shout out guests?
Oh, we can shout out guests. Yeah.
We can shout out guests. So we definitely have Michael Kramer and Kate Redding coming. I also have confirmation from Daniel Green that he will be coming and
Yes.
doing a spot. So I'm excited to hopefully talk to him about the trailer by the time it comes out.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's going to be exciting. I'm so you've had Daniel Green on the show before, but before I was part of it, so I'm just like, I get to talk to Daniel Green. What? I probably heard about him when he was first starting to explode out. To me, he's always like one of those people up there, and it's just like, I get to talk to him. What? But yeah, we're going to have him at SpoilerCon doing a panel of something, which will probably be about the trailer, because what the hell else are we going to talk about?
Yeah, but because remember, me and White Tower, SWAT Spoilers, and Daniel did a panel together.
Oh, yeah. Your first
at
Jordan Con.
Yeah, my first Jordan Con. So
I remember the pictures from that. But he's going to grace SpoilerCon, which is neat. And then obviously Michael and Kate seem to enjoy coming back year after year. So we've got them again. Still have to decide what they're going to read. But they'll read something. SpoilerCon, that's going to happen between the trailer and the show, which is exciting. Get them to revoice the trailer. That might be a little bit soon, but we'll see what the trailer's got in it.
They're also very careful about stepping on other people's IP.
Mm-hmm.
So that there's, especially with the TV show, I'm not sure how much of that I'm going to be able to get them to read, just because, like, legally they want to stay away from anything that's going to get anybody in any trouble. So
being practical with legalities. Boring.
I know. Boring, right? Yeah. Well, but we can always ask, we can be like, hey, we don't know what the legality of this stuff is. But there was one thing I think we asked them to do, I remember last time, that they were like, no, we're not going to do that because they were afraid of, I can't remember what it was, but.
Yeah, they have a good handle on what they're comfortable doing, and we will follow their lead because they are gracious enough to bless us with their time. Nerds in basements, having imposter syndrome, all around.
I guess I'll start the chapter.
Yeah, let's get into Rand having PTSD on a boat.
Unless you want to talk about the poster at all.
The poster. Oh man, like the cloak is so blue.
Yeah.
Her pose is so like Moraine inviting you onto an adventure. I was a little bit like not sure what the poster was showing, and then I saw the quote from Rafe being like, "It's really obvious to anyone what this is," and I'm like, have I not read the same series as you? Because this doesn't look like it. And then the alt text from the image said that it was a waygate, and I genuinely thought that it was the entrance into Shadar Logoth. I genuinely thought that's what I thought it was. And then someone pointed out the stone like melting at the corner, and I was like, okay, if I had noticed that detail, I probably would have thought waygate, despite the lack of stonework styling. But I didn't notice that. I just saw the architecture and was like, this looks more like a city gate than an ethereal interdimensional portal.
I had seen a leaked photo of that, and it had been labeled a waygate. So when I saw it, I immediately thought waygate, simply because I'd seen a set photo of that item.
Gotcha.
And it had been leaked, basically, that was a waygate.
Gotcha.
Is why I've been trying to stay away from the leaked photos, because like it really did kind of ruin the surprise and the speculation. I was like, oh, yep, waygate. Mm-hmm. And from knowing it's from book one, there's only so many situations, but I can see entrance to Shadow Logoth makes a lot of sense.
Just because the waygate, like there's the cover of whichever book it is. No, the role-playing game. The role-playing game, the book has the waygate, like with all the leaves, and I always see it as like Celtic knotwork leafy stuff, and this was so distinctly not that, and there's no doors swinging on it, and like the end, it just, but I'm fine with it being different. That's fine. It just didn't, when Rafe was like, it's obvious, I'm like, RJ, are you imitating RJ?
I wonder how much of that's a reference and how much of that was a nod and a wink to it's obvious.
It's obvious.
It's obvious.
Like, Rafe, you sassy little bitch.
Or how much of that comes from the same place is like when you've been working on this thing day in and day out, you've internalized it so much that like to you that's obviously a waygate, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and you don't even realize that someone else might not see it the same way.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. And honestly, it makes me more excited because I'm like, oh, good. I don't recognize everything. I'm not going to be able to anticipate where every episode is going to go moment to moment. I'm going to be like, what is that? And that makes me more excited. The more I think about the show and the more I listen to speculation about it, the more I'm like, I don't want to know what's going to happen. I want the dialogue to be different. I want the pacing to be different. I want the characters to behave in unexpected ways. I want it to be true to the world, not true to the books. if that makes sense. So this gives me excitement for that aspect. Like, I will be surprised. Good.
When he said, I'm going to stick to the spine of the story, I'm like, that doesn't leave a lot of flesh. Like, the spine is one bone. That you're not, like, the spine of the story is just a very small, like, he is rewriting a lot. We are not going to know there's going to be some surprises, even for long-term readers.
I think especially for long-term readers, because we'll think we know what's going to happen, and then it won't, and it'll be true to the soul of the thing, but not to the face of it. And I think that's going to make it more rewarding.
And he said, the characters are my guide, and the world is my guide. So we're still going to see Ranland, and we're going to still see the same characters, but I get a feeling that interactions are going to happen in different ways. Right. Like, it's just going to be very hard to show some of the emotions without changing entire plot lines, and that's going to lead to other changes,
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of our favorite, like, that dress is green moments may not happen the way we expect them to or the way we want them to. And, like, I think it's important not to be too disappointed. And things aren't going to look necessarily the way we picture them at all. There's going to be a whole aesthetic, and we haven't seen that, but we've gotten hints of it here with the Waygate, and the Waygate looks nothing like what I pictured in my head.
But Moraine has this amazing blue cloak.
Yeah.
And that much is the same. So it's like, we're going to get little bits, and, like, it's another turning. It's a portal dimension with a lot of validity. Like, there are canonical ways to make the discomfort go away.
But yeah, the one thing I just want to warn people is, like, don't stop getting angry because something doesn't look the way you pictured it in your head, or the harp is a guitar, or the sword doesn't have a hilt, or someone's eyes are a different color, or someone's skin is a different color. Like, all of those things just are visual, and the visual medium is going to change them entirely.
Right? It's just, you have to hit us and grab us in the same ways as the books did. Not beat for beat, but emotionally, I need to go on the same journey.
Right. And the way to do that isn't just to copy the costumes as they're described in the book series.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's going to look ridiculous. It'll look right. It'll look that stupid medieval Renaissance fair. Like, if
yeah, I mean, definitely years and years ago, like, before I even found the podcast, like, I definitely had ideas about how it was a screenplay written as a novel, and you could shoot it shot for shot. But the deeper I get into the concept of production and interpretation, it's like, that's a nice pipe dream for me to daydream about. That is not remotely realistic to expect or to want in reality.
Because I can read the book I have that. I have the book.
Exactly. So, the TV show will definitely overtake parts of the book in my mind in terms of faces and costumes and sets, because I have a pretty fuzzy grasp on that in my imagination anyway. The show will fill in some of those gaps. But yeah, we always have the books. They're not taking the books out of production. And even if they were, I own most of them physically.
Right. You can't take the words from me.
No, I mean, I basically have it memorized. You can't take that out unless you invent the little Men in Black wand. So
yeah, you're not wrong about that. Or Alzheimer's. Yeah, wait. I always think of Fahrenheit 451, where everyone memorizes a book and then goes off into the wilderness and waits for the world to make sense again. And I'm like,
I got Wheel of Time on lock, guys. I got it. Bring me my 5 people that are all backups, because seriously.
But, and listening to Rafe list off the people and the directors, what they work on.
Oh my God,
knowing
yeah.
With the actors. Like, it's the directors from all of my favorite shows,
Mm-hmm.
the actors from some of the best things I've seen recently, and writers from just all sorts of really great parts of the media landscape. It's hard to not look at all the talent going into this and all the money going into this and being like, okay, if they fuck this up, like...
Yeah, the amount of talent is insane. It's like, you can't fuck this up. If you have this much talent, this much money, and this much just basic passion, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Like, unless this is all an enormous prank to, like, troll all of us. Like, I'm not worried. I'm excited. I'm worried because I'm excited. There's, like, that fear excitement, like, all wound together. But I'm not worried. I'm only worried about douche nozzles ruining my experience. But that's a fandom thing, and I have the block button for that.
I'm worried about the internet. I'm not worried about the show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But we have a nice cultivated audience to this, our special little corner of the internet where it'll be safe.
And I've speculated November 5th. We don't know exactly, though.
It's November, but November 5th makes a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons. So
Yeah, my birthday this is December 1st, so I know I'm going to be like we'll be like halfway through the show, or I'm hoping at that point.
mm-hmm. My birthday's in September, so I'm like, the trailer is going to pretty much be my birthday present, like, which is exciting. And Margot, I will be 31 as well.
Almost identical ages.
Almost. Yeah, my friend who's out visiting right now, she just turned 30 today. And it's like, welcome to the 30s club. She's like, yeah, I kind of forgot that was happening until a few weeks ago. So
I am also going to be 40. I will be the show is coming out basically around my 40th birthday.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty neat though, honestly.
If someone told 16-year-old me, when you turn 40, you're going to be sitting down watching new episodes of The Wheel of Time, I would be like, what?
I'm going to be 40? What?
Oh, man. And I'd still be talking about it to all these people. Like, that's whatever. 16-year-old me has no fucking clue.
That's a mood though. I still feel 16 and I still have no clue, despite the fact that I'm 30. Right. I still need an adultier adult. I'm still not qualified. Ugh, imposter syndrome. It's everywhere. Literally everywhere. Except with Rand, who is going to have PTSD and then get manic in this chapter. I can do anything.
Yeah, there's definitely some mania going on there.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?